is not part of the Tri-Valley in the way that the
Hey everybody, welcome
Hills
back.
Highland,
This is part
Highland
two.
Hospital Reservoir Hills
This is
area
part
is being,
two.
carved up into an
And
enclave.
guess what? It really hasn't started back up yet.
Disconnected from the rest of its district by District 5, by the way.
They're still in
It's
the
very
other
hard to
meeting.
understand,
And I had a feeling this
we
was going to
need,
happen
not to,
the
at
minute
least, at the
they
very
set a
least,
time.
to
That was
rigorously fix the
unrealistic.
discontiguity
And so
of the current maps.
here we are. But they expect this to wrap up any moment. So I've got.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
You're going to hear that until they're done. Meanwhile, the
Penelope?
first version of the
Yes.
meeting
Can you hear me?
was a
Can you hear me?
disaster. It was a complete disaster.
Hello?
It was poorly presented,
We can hear you, Penelope.
All right.
and the
Okay.
city had no.
My name is Penelope.
While they say that they've
Hughes.
done
I'm a resident
good
of
work behind the
unincorporated
scenes,
Castro Valley. In 50
it's
days, you will be making
hard
a
to see
very
that.
important decision. Adopting new
Impossible.
county district boundary lines,
So,
a decision
let
that
me
will impact the lives of
try to
1.65
figure out how to do this.
million residents of Alameda
I want to show you
County
something that.
for the next 10 years. You who made the final
One moment,
decisions
please.
do
It
so
is
at the
really
will of the
grating
residents.
on me
In the past,
regarding
the maps were
the
drawn
city of Oakland and
primarily
how this has
based
been
on
done.
population
And I've
equity in a
shown
top-down approach.
part of it to you before, but
In
I'm
2021,
going to show the other part
today, this
while we
approach is
can.
no longer legal.
And
It is
before
imperative that we all
they shift over yet
recognize that
again,
now the redistricting is a bottom-up one.
they forgot to mention
With
that
the
the
new
link
laws
for the
in
room
place, the process
really
requires
constitutes
input
a
from the
different
residents,
link.
community
It's
of
not the
interest
same one.
maps and their
So
descriptions, and
I had to figure that one out the
participation
hard
in the
way.
formation
Fortunately, I
and
figured it out
review
just in
of the
time.
5 draft maps.
Anyway,
Specifically, this
let's see
means
here.
appropriate time must be
Just
spent
typing
by the
Howard Terminal,
supervisors to listen to and hear
pressing
from
enter,
the people you
and
represent.
see if I can
Appropriate
get
time
the
must be given to read the
information,
COAs. This information now
term
rises
sheet,
up to you, the final
facts
decision
versus
makers.
claims.
The expectation by law is that the
Let's see here.
decision will reflect the ranked
What I'm looking
criteria
for
in,
is
in conjunction with
this is
population
a community
equity and with
benefits
the inclusion
document
of input from the Alameda County
that
residents. We
was
all
done
need to
here,
remember the new redistricting
and
process is bottoms up,
they have the benefits
grassroots approach, a collaborative
recommendations,
effort by residents, consultants, county
partners.
staff, and elected supervisors. Thank you for
And
listening.
I'm looking for here. This is
Please
documents
state your
for you.
name.
I
You're on
found
the
it.
line.
Documents. It's a transportation plan.
Good evening,
Oh,
Board
now
of
this one's in
Supervisors and county staff.
different order.
My name is Rita Duncan, and I live in the unincorporated community
And
of Fairview. I'm speaking tonight
not
to advocate
exactly in the
keeping
order that I
unincorporated communities together
updated.
in
All right.
one district.
Howard Terminal
We
revenues
do
to
not have the
Alameda
additional
County.
layer of support and resources provided by city government.
And
The unincorporated communities are
one-time
underserved
revenues,
and need a
reoccurring
laser
revenue,
focus on their service
property
needs
tax
and
in lieu of
resolutions
sales tax
to issues.
transfers.
This is
Um,
illustrated by the COVID-19
okay.
Pandemic. There were no
Assumptions
direct
and
resources
methodology.
provided to the 11,000 Fairview residents.
This is to the
2,000
county.
which
Now,
are African
they don't
Americans.
deal with what
And
I'm
there are currently 80 plus
what I want to
open
show
places
you
in Fairview, and
are the
645
redevelopment
African Americans are
related
still unvaccinated. The
revenue
statistics
calculations
for
and
the other
how
unincorporated
problematic they
communities
are.
dismal as
Extremely
well.
problematic they
There
are.
are 152,000
And so
residents, 70% of which are minorities in the unincorporated communities.
it's and
I
as I go
believe
through
we
this,
will
wow, this
have
is
a
worse than I
stronger
thought.
voice and more
Okay,
cohesive,
let me
collaborative
go down
effort
here.
if we are together in one
And
district.
go over here
I also want to advocate
and
for
go
the
back
Board of
to what I
Supervisors,
was using
legal counsel, and independent
uh,
consultant to
in this
adhere to the
update.
new
All right, and then I will
redistricting
go to
laws,
StreamYard where you
specifically
are,
to all of the ranked priorities
and
and not just focus on population
and then I
equality.
will. Hey,
The
John
rank
Marks, how you doing?
criteria
And then
of
I will
complying with the Federal Voting
uh,
Rights Act being geographically contiguous,
stop this screen
respecting communities
for a
of
moment, or rather
interest,
share this
and
other
respecting
screen.
census-designated
I'll stop that
places,
screen
support the case of
and
keeping
then
the
share this
unincorporated
screen with you,
communities together.
which
Thank you
represents the
again for
Century Urban
opportunity to
Project, this
share
one,
my views
where it
on
says
this
allow
very
that one, okay?
important governance
Now,
process.
in nowhere does this actually break down redevelopment
Please
revenues.
state your name. You're on the
And
line.
there's a bigger problem here. Let me see if I can
Thank you. This is Nick.
turn this down even
Thank you
more
for giving us 3 minutes in this very important
so
part
that
of
you
the
can pay
democratic
better
process.
attention to what I'm about to
I wanna
tell you.
plug in for citizens redistricting
Yeah, there we go.
committees.
Okay,
First,
now
I've both gone
here
through
is what I'm going to tell you.
committees, which is a much better way to redistrict
And so
keep it in charge of the people. See what
this
happens in other parts of the country when elected bodies
right
do
here
redistricting. They have disfavored, disadvantaged communities.
talks about assumptions and methodology,
I also want to
then
comment
one-time
on
revenue,
Supervisor Chan.
transaction structure, one-time fiscal revenue gross,
Please keep
the
in mind
reoccurring
the
revenue,
comments of another
assessed
comment
value
that those
assumptions,
with more privilege and means
annual
are more
property
likely
taxes
to be
in lieu. All right,
participated
so
in
let's
the
go
process.
down
It is your duty
here
to do your best to identify
and
areas of interest and take all diligence in
look at the
doing so.
tables.
You must seek evidence if
They
there's
have,
any
there's
evidence
project, there's a
of
phasing
interest, even if the only evidence you have
from
is
2026 to
one
2036, right?
COI.
And then it says the methodology. This analysis
I want to comment on
is
cities,
intended as a tool to understand the additional
COI
tax revenues generated by the project to the county, and is provided as a point-in-time analysis based on the most current available information, the A's proposed program, the city's approved term sheet. The program or timing of development may change over the course of the project's build-out and may result in fiscal revenues that are significantly different than projected. No shit. In addition, while this analysis estimates fiscal revenue to the county, it does not quantify additional community or economic benefits that the project may provide, such as indirect economic impact, affordable housing, parks and recreation space, cultural spaces, and public art. This analysis also does not reflect the estimated cost of one-time capital improvements, such as traffic improvements, which may be funded. But it doesn't say the analysis doesn't reflect estimates regarding tax increment financing. And it talks about how it will be constructed in multiple phases. And it says that the analysis estimates fiscal revenues as if the project were built as of 2020. That is, all estimates provided in 2020 constant dollars as if it were fully built and stabilized in 2020. And then, okay, so 2020 to 2029 is 10 years. 2029 to 2039 is 20 years, right?
Oh, I'm unmuted.
So
now. Can you hear me?
consider what I'm about to read. The city and the A's contemplate that an enhanced infrastructure financing district, EIFD,
My name's
will be
Andrew
formed
Kirk,
over the project site,
and I've lived
and
in
certain
Alameda
project
for
generated
46
revenues will be
of my
contributed
60 years.
to the project.
One of
Should the
first
county elect
newspapers I ever
to
read
contribute
started
all or
in
a portion of its
1963.
share
It's called
of property
Weekend
generated
Monday.
property tax revenues to the
Newspapers
EIFD. In other words, this goes into creating the tax increment financing revenue structure. These amounts will be deducted from the total amounts projected in this analysis for the duration of the IFD term, which is typically 45 years. Furthermore, a majority of the Howard Terminal site is part of a former redevelopment agency, and as a result, property tax increment is currently and will continue to be captured by the RDA through 2039 to fulfill certain redevelopment obligations before any remaining tax increment is passed through the taxing agent entities or the EIFD, based on the projections provided by the A's property tax consultant and reviewed by Century Urban. An average of 37% of annual property taxes generated by the new proposed development will be captured by the RDA to fulfill existing obligations. The remaining 63% will be passed through the taxing entities, including the county. And that's because they expect it to die off in 2039. It says thereafter all tax increment will flow to the taxing entities. In other words, and that's written incorrectly. Okay, so my point is that entire section tells you all you need to know regarding the problem here and how it was not correctly done. Basically, the problem is that they have an existing redevelopment area, and there's supposed to be a new one. And yet what happened was that, as you saw in the presentation, the county took the consultant's information along with the property tax revenue and just rubber stamped it. Meanwhile, okay, without thought, because meanwhile, you have that done, and yet Dave Cavallo is saying, I'm going to have $6 billion of construction at Howard Terminal. The property tax revenues you saw don't reflect a $6 billion tax increment financing throw off over a 45-year period. So what they needed to do and they didn't do was go beyond 2039 and basically say, hey, we need to establish a whole new revenue stream for the new fiscal agency. They didn't write that. And I just read the consulting report to you. They didn't write that in there at all. They didn't do that at all. Okay? So this has become the blind leading the blind. Center Urban's the blind leading the blind. It's the county, because the county took Center Urban's numbers and just without thought regurgitated them. Without thought. Okay? So this is a huge problem. So you listening, John Marks? This is a huge problem. And this will further set back this project because it points to the inability of the city to explain this in a way that can be understood by the county, so the county representatives, so that the county officials can explain it to the elected officials in a way that the elected officials can understand it. Okay? This is an enormous problem. And yet, you have the athletics and their bosses, Major League Baseball, essentially waiting for Oakland to get it right. Well, they just discovered they were tired of waiting and said, you know what, we're going to deal with Las Vegas. And who can blame them? The problem is fixable. The problem is fixable. And you can't overlay the new district over the old one, but you need to show that mathematically. Also, remember where they said that they showed the assessed value assumptions? Did you see that? Because I certainly didn't see it. I certainly didn't see it at all. I'm thinking, oh, where are they? Okay, where are they? I didn't see it at all. And I'm going to go back and look again. I'm trying to, make sure that I've got the I's dotted, T's crossed sort of thing, right? I'm trying to make sure that, in point of fact, this
Please state your name.
was
You're on the
addressed.
line.
Hi, my name is Helen.
And so they said again,
I would
Table 7
like to
assessed
urge
value
you
assumption on
to
page
instruct
14.
your
Let's go down there.
members to do as they
Maybe we'll
suggested.
find some Maybe we'll find some honey hole
Visualizations.
goodness, right? Maybe we'll
One
find
based
the
on the current district
the
maps, just
proper
adjusting them,
numbers to at
and
least
one that
give some
starts from just
modicum of
providing that
comfort to what was
tries
done
to
here.
and puts together
Maybe.
a map
Okay.
of districts based
All right.
on the communities of interest.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
So I'm going down and I'm scrolling
That was the
down,
last speaker.
and there's table 3, right? Keep going. Table 5,
Evening, board.
Table
Just want
6,
to, based on the conversation that
and
has
there's property,
occurred,
there's assessed value, okay?
for the next
Now they
meeting,
give this
board
assessed
members
value,
will-
look at this.
And I believe District 1 will be hosting.
Assessed value per gross square foot.
What we will
For
bring as
offices,
it relates to the
apartments,
direction you've heard so far is
condos,
visual-
retail, hotel,
visualization
and
with,
ballpark, okay?
using the existing
They
boundaries
give it, they don't give it
with,
total.
minor tweaks to.
And they say
incorporate
assessed value
the
approach is the
communities
income
of interest.
approach.
And then there was a second question.
I don't, this is
great segue
ridiculous.
for Helen
If you're
to
talking about
ask
new,
you,
just
then the
what you do is make it
another
simple. You give the assessed
visualization,
value
and we
number,
could do a couple of them,
right? Then the total assessed value for each area
just looking at communities
in the
of interest
spreadsheet,
and bringing
what the
that
total
to
assessed
board
value is,
along
and then
with any
demonstrate
proposals that have been submitted,
what property tax increment that produces, and you multiply that times the tax rate. Do you see here any place where they mention at all right,
Thank you very much.
that
And want to thank all
they
of
have
those
done
who
that with respect
participated,
to tax increment financing? No.
giving us your.
They've only they claim to use this for local for what the county
Unless
gets.
there is any
But guess
other
what?
business before-
How is the county going to know how much it's actually giving up in terms of what it contributes? It says here, for example,
That's what it's.
that they have.
Public input.
That's the vehicle tax. And then they have the sales tax revenue. And then we talked about the transfer tax and the contributions, the recurring RDA revenue. But this is the existing one. All right. This is the existing RDA. It says until the RDA obligations are fulfilled, the county will receive a portion of the remaining 63% that is passed through to taxing agencies. And after 2039, the county is projected to receive its full share of property tax revenue. That means you know what that means? It means the current RDA dies, but it says nothing about the one that's going to carry them through to get the A's, the amount of money they're going to get from the tax increment financing from the district to finance at least part, to be able to pay the A's back. Okay, you can't pay the A's back under the stream that I've just shown you. You can't do it. And for them, okay,
I believe I heard us in the past.
and for them
To the public, so are they
to
submitting
allow this
their own
Correct.
maps
is
throughout
ridiculous.
this process?
I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so let me go back here. Let me see what's going on.
the earlier the proposals are submitted.
Let's see what's going on with our
review.
friends here as we stop going. We
By the fifth meeting,
switch screens around to share, right? But that's horrifying, folks.
November 20th.
That is absolutely horrifying. Okay,
December 2nd.
and
uh,
it's horrifying and it's sad
have,
that we have stooped
Thank you.
to a place so low.
David Parker.
We can't even do these things
Input.
right.
You're on
All
the
right.
line.
I don't blame the
Thank you so
athletics
much
are
for the
gone.
opportunity to offer a comment.
How can you
My
build
name is
anything
Parker.
when you have people that
Speaking on
don't
behalf of the Baha'i community
have a
of
complete
Alameda
fingertip
County,
understanding
we serve the areas
of this
all
project, and yet they
of
spent
Alameda County west of
all this
680,
time?
which
right?
includes Sunol, Castro Valley.
I mean, it's almost like somebody's not getting paid, or
So
there's something wrong
we
here.
have a very strong
That the consultants maybe
unincorporated areas.
they've gotten
While
what they
we
can do,
often
and
work with and support our
that's
fellow
it.
Baha'is in the surrounding areas, we really recognize that every community has its own
looks
challenges.
bad. Let's see what's going on here. Let's go back
One
to
of our guiding principles
proceedings
as
here.
Baha'is is justice. And this means that we have to strive to protect and nurture the voices of those who are in the minority, those who are often underrepresented, underprivileged, and underserved. And the key thing that I want to point out is that the unincorporated areas are 70% people of color. And these areas really depend on the Board of Supervisors to a unique degree, as many others have noted. And really, for a community to have a sense of itself, to grow and develop and advance as a community, it needs unity. It needs coherence and working together. And we urge you, please pay close attention to the communities of interest as that have been provided to you and humbly offered. And we ask really that you prioritize justice in your decision making.
That was the last speaker.
Okay, thank you very much.
That was the last speaker.
Unless there's still any other comment from board members, this special meeting for redistricting is adjourned.
Okay, so that went blank. That went blank. I guess they're going back to the other one. Let me see what's going on here, because that went blank. All right, so that went blank. And let me see what's going on here as far as getting the other one going. I think they're going back to the other the other the other meeting. Okay, so hold on a second, folks. Let me go and get that so I can get back on track. Because when I went to the other one, they were, one second, Alameda, Granius. Yeah, there's that one. Then there's this. Okay. PDF. Hold on a second. Almost there. And then there's this. And this should work, right?
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we've got that back. I'm going to exit full screen. Folks, I'm going back to StreamYard over here. I'm going to remove that one. I'm going to share the new screen. Stop the old screen. I'm going to share the new screen, the new Zoom screen, which should be here. And voila, there that is. And so you can tell that they're not back here. Okay, they've switched sides again. Okay, here. All right. So let me then go back and make sure that I've adjusted the revenue so that, yep, I have. Yeah, I did something right for a change. Woo-wee. All right. And then let me shut that down. And that. Go back here, and there we go.
Okay, good evening. I want to call back into open session the regular meeting for October 26, 2021. And we will resume where we left off with speakers regarding the special item for the 12 o'clock set matter, which is the resolution at this point, and is discussion and possible action for a resolution declaring the County of Alameda as non-binding intent to contribute the county's share of incremental property taxes to finance portions of the City of Oakland's waterfront ballpark district, Howard Terminal, for 45 years through an enhanced infrastructure financing district. Before we go back into open session, let me just say that the board, we're conducting the Board of Supervisors meeting with all board members present, participating by teleconference in response to the directives issued by the local and state health officers regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. The board chambers are only open to essential county personnel. Alameda County recognizes the important and invaluable role of public participation in government comment. Be reminded that disruptive conduct that renders orderly conduct of the meeting unfeasible will not be tolerated. This includes disruptive conduct that may occur through public comment. The chair will order the removal of individuals who are willfully disrupting the meeting so that the meeting can continue. Will the clerk please do roll call?
Supervisor Halbert.
Here.
Supervisor Valle. Excuse Supervisor Chan. Supervisor Miley.
Here.
President Carson.
Present. Does the clerk want to again read the detailed instructions?
Detailed instructions are provided in the teleconferencing guidelines. A link to the document is included in today's agenda. If you are joining the meeting using a computer, use the button at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand to request to speak. When called to speak, please unmute your speaker and state your name. If you are calling in, dial *9 to raise your hand to speak. When you are called to speak, the host will automatically unmute your mic to enable you to speak. If you decide not to speak, notify the clerk when your call is unmuted, or you may simply hang up and dial back into the meeting. As a reminder, you may always just observe the meeting without participating by clicking on the View Now link on the county webpage at acgov.org. When called, you will have
2 minutes.
2 minutes to speak on the item. Please limit your remarks to the time allocated. Thank you.
And again, I want to thank everybody for their patience and understanding. We are now at comment on the item.
And Supervisor Carson,
Yes.
can we confirm that people who spoke before we broke,
Can you what?
for people who spoke before we took the break, they can't speak on this item a second time?
County Council, for the individuals who spoke on this item before we took a break, you cannot speak on this item a second time.
Callers, we are on item 52.2, the Waterfront Ballpark District. Please state your name. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening, supervisors. My name is Kristen Connolly. I'm president and CEO of the East Bay Leadership Council. I'm here to encourage you to support the non-binding resolution to move forward on Howard Terminal. This is an unprecedented economic development opportunity. I stand with my colleagues and counterparts at the Bay Area Council's Economic Institute that did an analysis of the benefits to the region, of the jobs created, of the opportunity to have unprecedented benefits to the community, housing that could be created. This really is a unique opportunity, and the county is in a position to help move this forward. So I encourage you to support this resolution and help keep the Oakland A's in Oakland. Thank you very much.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Good evening. My name is Luis Padilla, 53-year resident of Alameda County. Calling in support of the Howard Terminal project, I urge the Board of Supervisors to look at the big picture and support this project. The revitalization of Jack London Square area would result in millions of dollars for the city of Oakland and the county. Look at what a new ballpark has done for the revitalization to other cities, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, just to name a few. Please have the vision to see this project through. Make it the jewel of the East Bay. Keep the A's in Oakland. I yield myself.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, my name is Zinni Abraham, CEO of Zinni 62 Media, which owns Oakland News Now. I have a real concern regarding the Center Urban document that purported to report the tax increment financing revenue. First of all, it states that under how they looked at it, it starts at 2020 in terms of the redevelopment area time frame they used, and then it goes out to 2039. But they say it sunsets with the current RDA. They don't talk at all about a 45-year period for the one for the ballpark. My point is, you're not getting the actual right tax increment revenue from a 45-year bonding period. And the county administrators people just took that number and they rubber stamped it without thought. So everything you're using is completely wrong. Center Urban's work is wrong, and no one should be basing numbers. I don't care if you're for this or against it on what Center Urban did. This needs to be torn up and tried again. You can phase in redevelopment revenue monies. I know because I created the concept in 1996. The Business Times wrote about it. All you have to do is type Abraham Gambit redevelopment in Google. It pops up number one. We need to get our act together, folks. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Miguel. I'm a resident of the Bay Area. I urge the council to vote for this non-binding agreement. I think it's a good, it's not perfect, but it is a good plan to make Oakland a destination city of the future and bring it on par to have millions of visitors every year and increase the taxing for the city and the county, and to provide funding for some of the really important matters that the city and county care about. So that's it. I yield. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, how you guys doing? I'm a former Alameda County resident, current Sacramento resident. I urge the county to go forward with the Howard Terminal. I also just want to state that Oakland News Now and then other East Oakland Stadium Alliance groups who are spitting out false news about Howard Terminal, you guys are getting a real deal that's going to benefit Oakland and the entire region. I urge you guys to just enter in this non-binding agreement vote. You guys have time to enter in this vote, look over what you guys need to look over, and then discuss what you guys need to discuss amongst each other. This is going to look good for Oakland. This is going to look good for Alameda County, the entire region. So yeah, I urge you guys to vote. Thank you.
What a stupid idiot.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Stupid idiot. He's like,
hi, my name is Max
stupid.
with Marine Engineers. I usually don't prepare any statements when I come to these meetings, and I just write down questions as these meetings go along. And here's a list so far that, as of listening to this meeting, have been written down. When this process first started, the A's were saying that no public funds were needed. Why now, through the last few months, are we all discussing public funds for anything the A's need? Why, when the A's staying at the Coliseum and building a new stadium there, how was that a loss of jobs? What could the construction, 25,000 construction jobs, 7,100 ballpark jobs, they're still staying. They're not leaving. The A's say they're rooted in Oakland. Are they threatening to take their ball and leave if their billionaire owner doesn't get his way? The mayor had to come on and tell you you'd be a hero for voting for this proposal, this non-binding agreement. Why does the mayor have to tug at heartstrings if this is such a good plan? Ports up and down both coasts are having, shipping backlogs and container backlogs, and they're looking to expand their footprint.
hold on a second, folks. I want to say something just in a direct, immediate rebuttal to what that whoever that person was is. And it's like this, okay? Straight up. First of all, this project is not done right. You don't rubber stamp a project because you're for it if the numbers are wrong, which would get you sued. My point is, get this right, because otherwise we're headed to a lawsuit. So whoever you are out there, that you claim to know what you're talking about, you have no idea what you're saying or where I stand, you need to get your head examined, study the project. If you don't know, you can call me and talk, or come on and we can argue about it, okay? But you have no idea what you're talking about at all. I'm for the project, but it's not done competently, okay? There are decades of work behind this. They had to hire a consultant that has no idea what they're doing, and it's obvious, and I'm pointing it out, and the county didn't even recognize it. So if you want this thing done right, you tell them to get me involved. I don't care if you don't like it or not. Otherwise, don't make comments about things you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you can say what you want. It's a democracy. But I'm going to say it right back to you. You're wrong, pal. Period. End of story. Okay? There.
Each and one of you guys. And it'd be a shame that the town will be all messed up because we as citizens got to pay for that. Taxpayers. When we come out of a pandemic, there's a lot of things that we can do otherwise with that money. Instead of having Mr. Fisher be more of a millionaire, him and his friends, because he can't go to Las Vegas because he can't build those 3,000 condos. All the things that he wants to do, those are all for his dream. That's all it is. I'm pleading you guys to vote no. Yeah, maybe that area, Council Supervisor Valley, maybe that area do need a facial uplift, but they don't need that kind of uplift. And those jobs will be right there where they should. You guys need to force his hand, because he's disrespecting each and every one of you guys at the last minute, like Chad say. We didn't know nothing about it. Y'all thought y'all was through. And watch your hand. And here he comes. He's shrewd and he's disrespecting you guys.
Thank you very much.
No.
Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hey, Barry Lee. How you doing?
Hey, Sean, you're on the line.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Good evening. My name is Tasian Kwamaleli. I serve as the Government and Public Affairs Rep for Schnitzer Steel. First, I just want to thank the supervisors for their unwavering commitment and for dealing with this topic today. As stated, I firmly believe the board moved in the right direction when this item first came before you in late June. As you all stated during that call and numerous times today in this meeting, the county sold its portion of the Coliseum to get out of the sports business. Like every other caller on this call, we want the A's to stay in Oakland, but we believe it is unfair to you all, given the impacts of COVID, issues such as homelessness, mental health, and increased poverty, that you are being pressured to address an issue that really falls on the city and the A's to sort through. Investing in Oakland is the utmost importance to all of us. As you have stated, the city nor the A's have agreed upon the terms for the basis of this deal, including affordable housing and community benefits, to even make this project a reality. And while I am grateful, the city nor the A's have provided sufficient information for the board to properly assess whether to participate in the proposed IFD. Finally, the city nor the A's have prioritized the impact of this development will cause to industrial businesses, or specifically the port. I strongly urge the county to ensure it's not pressured into a fiscally irresponsible decision. Thank you all.
As well as baggage.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, I'm Claudia Cimini. I'm with the Marine Engineers Beneficial Association. We have our union hall in Oakland. So right now, our members work on the cargo ships that you see in San Francisco Bay. We have all these cargo ships at anchor. The supply line is endangered. Right now, there's a lack of available dock space for ships in Oakland. Howard Terminal is available space. We're expected to give up some of that precious space to a team that shows little commitment to staying in Oakland. If we give up that commercial dock space, we'll be hard pressed to get it back. What will we do next time there's a supply chain crisis? Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Good evening. I'm Tim Frank, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Sustainable Neighborhoods. And I'm calling in to encourage you to support the non-binding resolution. The Howard's Terminal project actually has the opportunity to help revitalize the Jack London Square area. This is a live, work, play area that has the capacity to be extremely sustainable and a really important economic asset for the city and for the region. It has been identified by the city in its maps, looking at where to locate commercial and residential development so as to minimize climate change as one of the most sustainable locations to locate both. We agree with that and think that this is a critically important location for infill development. It'll be good for the city, good for the county, and good for the region and its infrastructure. So we think that this is an important opportunity and are convinced that a vibrant waterfront community can coexist with the port with good design considerations to make sure that there are appropriate buffers, which this project already has. So we think that we can have a thriving port and a thriving waterfront and downtown working together, and think that your support for this is critical and would encourage you to support it. And it's not only a great opportunity for the climate, but also to help with the just transition by providing high quality jobs over a construction period that will last up to 30 years. This is clearly good for the economy, good for social justice, and for the environment. Those are the three pillars of sustainability. It's a home run of a project, and we would be thrilled to see your support for it this evening. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line. Trent, please unmute your mic. You're on the line.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Trent Willis. I'm the president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union Local 10. I represent approximately 1,600 dock workers, members here in the Bay Area. And I don't want to. First of all, thank you to the board for hearing us, and as representing my membership, our position is that we wish that you would vote no on this measure to build provide funds to build the proposed stadium. And I don't want to repeat everything that you heard the opponents of this say. We pretty much agree with all of the statements we've heard. The one thing that I keep hearing that's ringing out from the proponents, meaning the people who support the stadium initiative, is that it would not be a loss of jobs. The Local 10 membership wholeheartedly disagrees with that. Okay, because as you can see right now, with the after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the problems that we're having with the supply chain throughout the United States and in particular on the West Coast, the Port of Oakland has been begging for cargo ship work here. We don't have a backup in our estuary of ships right now. Okay, so the ocean carriers have absolutely made a decision. Some ocean carriers have made the decision to bypass this port. And we see the effects that that's having on the industry. We have over 80 ships backed up in the port of Los Angeles, Long Beach right now. And that's directly because the ocean carriers are bypassing the port.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Yeah, my name is D, Alameda County resident. I want to connect a couple of dots as it relates to the needs of the county and the economic outcome of the IFD proposal. When discussing the IFD, several times today, the supervisors have raised the issue of healthcare being a key priority, which needs funds. Well, today is an opportunity to demonstrate your commitment to healthcare, as well as other needs of the county, which need funds. Opting into the IFD will generate incremental revenue that you do not have today, and no one would have without your participation in the IFD. The project wouldn't get built. These tax revenues can be used towards healthcare for members of the community, city, county, etc. Ironically, this includes those who have been directly, negatively impacted by the pollution, poison chemicals shoved into the water and air by Schnitzer Steel, idling trucks, and other members of East Oakland Stadium Alliance, who would do anything they can to see their businesses continue to operate without regulation, oversight, recourse, and despite the irreversible harm that they've caused to the health of the community. I urge you to vote to opt into the IFD, non-binding, as a signal of intent to use those incremental funds that you receive to reinvest into the health and well-being of the city and county residents. Keep the A's in town, build affordable housing, add jobs, realize the potential of the waterfront. You're being given an opportunity to be known as a transformational and visionary government body. Don't strike out. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Austin Tam. I'm a disability advocate, and I'm one with a disability, and I'm on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee for 8018. I'm urging you all to vote no, because this is shameful and disgraceful. Blood will be on your hands. The A's don't care about Oakland. They only care about making their billionaire owner money. That is why they are seeking almost $1 billion in public funds to pay for the private real estate development while refusing to pay a single penny of their own money for community benefits. This sets a bad precedent, and the county should not give into the A's bully tactics. It's going to be impacting people of color, people with disabilities, cause gentrification, and also, if it ain't broken, why fix it? What is the rush? What are you hiding? And who are you trying to fool? Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, my name is Josh Frank. I'm a resident of Alameda County in Oakland, and I just want to
urge you to vote yes for this non-binding agreement. This is a critical project for our region that's going to up-level the city of Oakland, the county, and the entire region. It's going to be a matter of enormous civic pride for the city. It's financially a good idea. The project pays for itself through revenue generated through the new ballpark district, and it will add housing to our region, which is desperately in need of housing. So with all this, it feels a bit like a no-brainer to vote for this project. If this project doesn't go through, it'll be one of the biggest missed opportunities for the city in its history. The waterfront of Oakland should be a place that is accessible and available to the residents of Oakland and not just a commercial port. So again, I encourage you all to vote yes for this project. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My name is James, and I'm with Local 10 in San Francisco, and the amount of jobs that this can stop is not even heard of, because for one, right now we're struggling. There's a lot of people on the port, and our community is not, we can't live without the jobs that's from all the cargo ships that we need to come inside our port to make, and I mean, you can hear like it's unheard of for me to even begin to start. I mean, there is so much going on with our union and what we represent here at the waterfront. And if the A's take on our waterfront, then we have nothing to come back to. We have nothing. It's destroying a lot of people and our families. So I will have to say no, definitely no. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line. Desmond, please unmute your mic.
Hi, my name is Desmond Jeffries. I'm a member of the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club and a resident of the city of Oakland. I want to say happy Halloween, and let me begin by saying this proposal and resolution is scary. Thank you, Board of Supervisors and Supervisor Carson and Supervisor Chan for asking significant questions and concerns about this project. I'm advising the Board of Supervisors to vote no on the infrastructure enhancement financing district for the Howard Terminal. I'm advising the board to not allow Dave Cabal and Oakland A's to conduct their own study and analysis on the enhanced infrastructure finance district. That report will obviously be biased and to the benefit of those that pay for the study. If this project was beneficial to the region or to a city, you would see Walnut Creek advocating for the A's, or Napa, or Marin, or Dublin. Vallejo has a waterfront property, they can build there. All the development they want in Jack London can and is already built at the Oakland Coliseum, which is surrounded by all the modes of transportation. You have the airport, you have the BART, you have a shuttle that goes from the airport to the BART. You have the Caltrain, you have the bus terminal. You could even add a gondola from the Coliseum to Jack London, right? We need redevelopment for East Oakland and more low-income housing, not more fancy condos. Did you know we could use the same enhanced infrastructure financing district to fix our streets and expand our roads? Did you know we could use the same enhanced infrastructure financing district to fund low-income, affordable housing? We should be doing that now, not just using it for this terminal and for this development. What has the return on investment been for decades since the A's has been at its current location? Have they improved the streets in East Oakland? Have they improved their ballpark? Has the A's added revenue enhancement, amenities, and beautification to add value to the Coliseum and the East Oakland community? Hell no, with a capital H. We know $1 billion in cost of this development will increase 3 times the amount of with contract extensions, delays, and amendments to the previous approved funding. They only got a baseline estimate, a superficial skeleton environmental impact report. Don't mess with the port. Stop trying to be like San Francisco or the Giants. They do not have an active port like Oakland. Also, the A's say they have union-funded jobs, but Working with the Mouse is an economic analysis study that was done with Disneyland that had union employees, but those union employees were not getting paid a living wage, were living in tents and under the freeway. So we need union jobs that are paying a living wage. And I'll
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, I'm calling in to strongly urge you to support this non-binding resolution. First, I want to call out this mind-blowing amount of misinformation that a lot of people are resorting to lies to sink this incredible project. I've heard a lot of people say this project will hurt people of color. Where is the outrage over the pollution that is poisoning our neighbors? I also hear a lot of people talk about how this could potentially interrupt the port. Let's take a look at Seattle. They have 2 stadiums right next to their port. That port is dealing with the backlog. Port of Oakland is not. So I, again, strongly urge you guys to vote yes.
Please state your name. You're on the line. James, please unmute your mic.
Hi there. Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. So sorry. Hi, my name is James Winterbottom. I'm calling as an Oakland and Alameda County resident, as a homeowner, as a taxpayer, and as a father of 2 young kids. And I'm urging the county supervisors to vote yes on a non-binding resolution tonight. As many of the commenters and indeed the supervisors themselves, I started as a skeptic for this project. I'm not an A's fan. I don't particularly care if they stay or go. And I'm familiar that many stadium deals of the past wind up costing the public money without the promised benefits, Mount Davis being a prime example. That said, the more I dug into the details, I realized 2 things. Number one, it's nearly all upside for the city and county as the funds are raised from the development itself, and the development will build 3,000 new residential units, around 1,000 of which would be affordable. And number 2, I realized that most of the arguments against the development are misleading or in bad faith. And I think a big reason for that is if you look at the biggest opponents for the project, it's number 1, Schnitzer Steel, a plant that not only releases pollution into West Oakland and surrounding community, but routinely just catches fire for some reason. And then global multi-billion-dollar shipping companies who don't care about Oakland or the county aside from their very narrow self-interest. Instead of listening to those 2, I'd urge you instead to listen to, number 1, the Port's Board of Commissioners, who said it would not be disruptive to port operations. I'd urge you to listen to third-party consultants who you've hired to be objective. And if there's problems with the current analysis, a yes vote tonight will allow you to fix the analysis going forward or hire someone else to fix it. And number 3, I urge you to listen to constituents like the man from West Oakland earlier, who said he just wants to finally have access to the bay from where he lives. I understand it would likely be extremely politically challenging for the Board of Supervisors. No one wants to look like they're giving handouts to billionaires for sports, and that's certainly the narrative out there. But I also want to stress that a no vote could be politically challenging as well, given that the incremental revenue from the development could be used to fund the county's most important challenges. So I thank you for your time.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, this is Linda Adams. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, so I just wanted to make a couple of comments without taking away from everyone else's opinion, because it's clear that there's so many different opinions here. But one thing that we do know for a fact is John Fisher is an investor. And there's a fact that an investor is looking for profit. You will never find an investor that is not paying attention to the rate of his investment, return on his investment. Never. So there's something in it for him. I don't think he personally is looking at the effects that it's going to have on the community around him, because the bottom line is this is an investment for him. So I would like for Alameda County to really, if you guys are going to consider this, really look at it, look at the numbers, because it's very clear that they've been pulling the wool over. Nothing was clear in the documents earlier, the things that was discussed earlier. You have to really understand the bottom line, and to be able to get reimbursed for money that they're going to be spending over a period of time. Why do you need to get reimbursed? You're a private investor looking for public funding. You should not be requesting to be reimbursed. And so I just urge you guys to really, really look at this like a fine needle in a haystack, to make sure that it is what everything that you are looking for out of it. And will it affect the port? Yes, it will. It's going to affect the port, because there's already traffic congestions down there now. And once you add residential and a ballpark, and one thing about it is you can change to a private land, but the water is always going to be public. So how unsafe would it be for private personal ships on the water while you have big cargo ships coming in?
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, my name is Paul. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Paul.
Thank you very much for taking my call. And I hope you guys are all staying safe through the storm and through the coronavirus. I wish you all the best. The opponents, if there were no sports stadiums near ports and Oakland was going to be the first one to try this, I'd say maybe it's a bad idea. We already have real world examples of this working. Seattle, the Mariners and Seahawks, Major League Baseball and NFL, are right next to the Port of Seattle is a little spread out, but they're right next to the Port of Seattle. In Cleveland, you have they're going to be the Guardians next year. They're changing their name, of Major League Baseball. The Browns and the Cavaliers are all within about a mile of the Port of Cleveland. So the opponents may not like this idea, and I'm not trying to belittle them, but they as far as a real world example is concerned, they cannot make the claim that this hasn't been done before. Once again, Cleveland, all three of its sports teams are around the Port of Cleveland. The Browns are something like 0.2 miles away from the Port of Cleveland. They're right next door. They're neighboring right next door. So you might not like the idea, but this has not killed the Port of Seattle with its 2 teams nearby, or the Port of Cleveland with its 3 teams nearby. These are thriving ports. The Port of Cleveland is vitally important to the Midwest, and they have only grown in employment. So there is not a real world example in the United States of sports teams killing ports. That hasn't happened. We have real world examples of ports and sports pairing up and being fine neighbors, and it doesn't cause a problem. Again, you may not like the idea of the A's moving to the port. It has not hurt real world ports in this country. It's a fact. It hasn't happened. It does not hurt ports.
Thank you very much.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, my name is Mike Davey. My friends call me the mayor of Oakland. This meeting has gone on way too long. Is this what we're going to be doing every single time? Anyway, you guys should vote and support this project. It's good for the city. It's good for everybody. And it's a win-win situation. But this meeting has just gone on way too darn long. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, this is Tyrell Robertson, President and CEO of Split Lab Ventures, also a resident of Oakland and Alameda County. I just want to urge the Board of Supervisors here to vote in favor of not only the Howard Terminal waterfront ballpark, but to really consider what it's bringing to Oakland as a city and also to Alameda County. Not only is it an economic investment, but it's also just something that is bringing intrinsic value to the city. I question a lot of the opponents here, especially on folks who are arguing against this because of the impact to the Port of Oakland. My question to you is, what has the port done to improve that area for the many years it's already been there? What economic benefit has it given to people? What economic benefit has it driven in terms of trying to improve not only the area, but the healthcare, but also the recidivism around homelessness? We talk about the job loss, but we don't talk about the job creation. There's probably more job growth and spurring in that if we were to support not only the Howard Terminal, but it would bring in more revenue, it would bring in more tourism, it would bring in a lot more investment, both commercially as well as corporately, if we think about just all of the tech companies that are also looking to move to Oakland. I also want to look at an immediate example. The Brooklyn Basin project has already been announced as a success, not only with housing, but also just revitalizing an area that was once decrepit. So I really want you guys to consider that saying no to this, you guys have no fallback. You don't have any plans to actually improve this area without this option. So it would be ludicrous for us to ignore what this is bringing to the area and the future of Oakland. It's time for Oakland to grow up. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. My name is Hannah Agita. I'm born and raised real West Oakland resident, 30 years of my life. I just want to touch on a point that I haven't heard yet. And that's, I don't know if you guys know about the Levi Stadium sound ordinance, but that will be coming into effect by people in condos asking the city to do something about the 24-hour operations that are at the port right next door. And those jobs being temporary, these longshore jobs are prominent for us. Like I said, healthcare and everything that they say, that's a big thing, of course.
Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry, good night. My name is Tom Potadar. First off, I am not a Alameda County resident, but I am a passionate East Fan and Bay Area resident. I would like to urge the County of Oakland, the County of Alameda to vote yes on the Howard Terminal project. A lot of people have been saying that this hasn't been done. A good example, this has been done in the Bay Area. Just look across the bay to Oracle Park, home of the San Francisco Giants. That area has been improved tenfold, and they still have a working port. In fact, I was in that area a few days on Sunday during the pouring rain, and I realized that the local chapter of the ILVW was right next to the ballpark. And I think that's a clear example of the port and the port and this baseball working together in harmony. Supervisor Miley, I want you to vote yes on this project because I saw you behind Libby's shop the day the Raiders left Oakland, and I hope that you have that feeling of loss, and I hope you don't have that same reaction to the A's. I love coming to Oakland. My dad and sister are Giants fans, and they love it with me with Petty. I would love to come to the A's, come to Oakland, but if you don't do your job and the A's leave, I will never step foot in the East Bay again. Please vote yes on the project. Thank you. I yield my time.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello. Hi. My name is Grant Chen. I'm a resident of West Oakland. And I'd urge you guys to support this project.
Hi, my name is Iman Kashakamra. I am just letting you guys know that there are several cities that are, the majority of cities I've seen that don't have a ballpark are doing just fine. In fact, the majority of cities I see with a ballpark, there is so much inequity. So I see the Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District. The only way seeing this work is to do it at the Coliseum. There is a fallback, and the fallback is to do it at the Coliseum. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Yeah, my name is Brad Gilson. I was born and raised in Oakland, California. I would like to urge the council to please vote in support of this non-binding resolution. As far as I can understand, there is zero downside to voting yes for the resolution. It's simply extending time for study, which Dave Cabell said he would pay for, to study, to inform your concerns. I don't see any downside to voting no right now. In terms of the port individuals, and I just don't understand, do these jobs, do the individuals working these jobs live in the county? Is that money staying in the county? If you do build the Howard Terminal project, look to San Diego. I feel like if you look at pictures of the downtown area from 20 years ago, it's an industrial wasteland. It looks very much like the Howard Terminal area right now. If you look today, how much money are they making from property taxes alone in the condo buildings that keep popping up because it's a good idea to build there because people want to go there? It seems like a no-brainer to me. Yeah, I mean, that's a port as well, San Diego. Seems like there's a very busy port right there. And they commingle. And Petco Park has been nothing but a boon to that community, to that city, to their coffers. I think it makes a lot of sense. I would urge you to vote yes, please. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hi, my name is Grant Chen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm a resident of West Oakland. I'd urge you guys to vote yes on this project. As the previous person said, there seems to be no downside. This is a non-binding vote. And I really care about fiscal responsibility. And I think that in this case, this would be a great boon to the county and to Oakland, where you guys we would be getting more tax revenue from the project if it were to happen, whereas currently we're hardly getting anything from it. And there's probably no other proposal that will happen in a very long time if it weren't built. So yes, some tax money from the project would go towards infrastructure that would help environmental remediation, help build a seawall that would need to happen anyways. And I think that this would really help generate a lot more, millions of dollars in tax revenue, help keep the A's in Oakland, help build much needed housing and would keep the A's in Oakland. So while you wouldn't, I don't think the county is staying in the sports business by doing this. Like Mayor Schaaf said, would help build a park, help remediate environmental issues there, and build much needed housing and affordable housing. So please vote yes.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, my name is Nick Danoff. I am a resident of Oakland. I'm a voter. I have many relatives who are all in the Supervisor Carson's district. We all feel very strongly that this is an incredibly important opportunity here that you absolutely must not blow by refusing to hold a vote or voting no tonight. This is an opportunity to further move forward in this process, learn more, remediate any concerns you have. That's fantastic that you're interested in doing that. I was a little disappointed with what looks like the lack of preparation and homework that was done in preparation for this meeting to study all the details, but that's just fine. You can buy yourself more time. What you absolutely must not do is kill the deal tonight by voting no or refusing to hold a vote. Please, we've heard all the reasons for this. Any concerns we know can be worked out. There is, as many other people have said, nothing but downside to voting no or refusing to hold a vote tonight. I urge you to vote yes in favor of the EIFD. Thank you very much.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Hello, my name is Isaac Pingree. I'm a lifelong resident of Alameda and Oakland. It just seems like what we have now is a toxic site where trucks idle, and we have the opportunity to provide environmental remediation, a public park, shoreline access, and housing, and added tax revenue for the county. Versus what? I've been following this meeting today, and it's hard to figure out the upside of leaving a brownfield site between Schnitzer Steel and Jack London Square. What value is that to the county? I want to echo what the last caller said. You had 4 months to get your questions answered, to try and make the changes in this plan that you want to see. And as I've sat here all day following along, it's been disheartening to see from the supervisors that you haven't really done that. So we've got this toxic waterfront site, and we have an opportunity to turn it into something else. And I don't think there is a great alternate option. And so I don't see what is difficult about choosing not to derail this project. Thank you.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Thank you, President Carson. This is Eddie Escoto Alvarez, business representative for the Alameda County Building Construction Trades Council. Arise to speak that you approved tonight's non-binding resolution for not just the workers, but for the city of Oakland. This is something the city really could use. If you look at historically, this is the first type of ballpark that was built in Baltimore in 1991, opened in 92, which led to DC, Seattle, San Francisco, and San Diego. They've all been very good for the local economy. Just in DC alone, in the naval yards, that has boomed a housing boom, if you could say the least. And if we could copy the same thing here in this area, including as in San Diego, it would be incredible. Long Beach almost had this opportunity with Anaheim about 3 years ago, and they jumped all over for the same reason that we would like you to jump over. It's good for the economy, it's good for workers, and it's good for the community to have a place that we can come to 81 nights a year and root on our favorite boys on the field. So thank you very much, and we approve. We hope.
Please state your name. You're on the line.
Yeah, my name is Jake Klein, and I'm a Oakland business owner, and I'm an Alameda County resident. And it's very important for me for the A's to stay here in Oakland. And not only would I buy season tickets, I would spend more time in Oakland. I would, it's an anchor tenant for the Jack London Square. It'll bring people down to the square. I was just in Long Beach, and they have a whole community down by the waterfront with an active port. And this project can coexist with a port. And I would just really like you to vote yes today on this project. Thank you.
There are no more speakers on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all of the speakers today. Appreciate hearing your points of view. Comments from the board. Supervisor Valle.
Mr. President, I know that the board probably has questions and wants to deliberate, but at the appropriate moment, I would like to make a motion. Thank you.
Okay. Board members.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Board members' remarks. Is Supervisor Miley's hand up? Does I see a hand up?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Supervisor Halbert.
Yes, President Carson, and to everyone who stuck it through the entire meeting, thank you. To the people that presented today from the city, from the A's organization, from the county staff, and from the port. Indeed, it's a long day. I'd like to thank everyone for sticking through and for agreeing to agendize this. As was stated, it's time, I believe, to make a move, whether that's a move to carry the ball further down the field, so to speak, to make progress, to outline next steps. We heard a lot today, and it's time to make that. I've heard a lot of new information, which is great, and I know that we have a lot more information that we have to get at, and I hope that we will do that in earnest. Thank you.
Okay. If the board has no more comments or questions, then we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, for the benefit of my colleagues, I have provided this motion in writing, so it's really clear. I'll hand it to my right first. And for the benefit of the public and Vice President Miley, I'd like to read it out loud. The motion is that the board declares a non-binding intent to contribute a portion, and I want to emphasize, a non-binding intent to contribute a portion of its share of the incremental property tax that will be generated from development of the waterfront ballpark district at Howard Terminal into an enhanced infrastructure financing district to be governed by a public financing authority with members appointed equally by the city and county to be formed over the project site for the purpose of financing eligible on-site affordable housing, public parks, and other infrastructure of community-wide significance, and that a county committee be created consisting of at least 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, the CAO office, the Auditor Controller office, and a third-party CPA firm to conduct the analysis of the proposed project funding funded by the Oakland A's, and that to be brought back to the Board of Supervisors. That's the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any comments? Supervisor Chan.
Okay, well, it's been a really long day. I want to thank the staff and the speakers. I do want to say to the speakers, there are who think there's nothing to weigh. There is a lot to weigh here. I will support this motion, but I do want to just kind of review the pros and cons of this from my point of view. I think all of us would like the A's to stay. It's not just having a major league baseball team in this area, but the A's have a long history, huge long history in the city of Oakland. And going back many, many years, many decades, and it would be a shame to have them leave. Secondly, the people who said there's no benefit, the land will be used. We've all been out to the site. It's an empty site right now. So the land will become useful and it will create jobs, which are really important, particularly during the pandemic. But most importantly, this is a non-binding intent. So as County Council said, there'll be future votes or we could step away from this agreement at any time we want to. In terms of things that I'm going to be looking out for, more on the cautionary side is I believe there should be more low-income housing on the site, including a certain number of units for very low income. There's going to be 4,000 units, I believe, and only 450 affordable units. So I think a portion of that, certainly that's a pretty small percentage, could certainly go to very low income. I think that this project has to ensure the vitality of the port and the businesses located nearby. These are all things I'm going to be watching for. Thirdly, I think there has to be a commitment by the project developers to maintain the diversity of that area. I think that with so many market rate condos, I think it would be a shame to see rich out of town people come and those will be the people who are going to be occupying that whole section of town. Oakland has always been proud of its diversity and always wanted to keep that special aspect of the city of Oakland. And fourth of all, I do have to say that I was a little bit alarmed to learn that the A's are going to be charging interest on public money. People say that $450 million or up to $450 million isn't much, but it's about 20% of our whole budget. It is a lot of money. And that money is taxpayer money. It's not money that came from a private firm or from a corporation. It's each of us who live in the county pay taxes on it, and we're supposed to safeguard that money. And I think I just don't think it's right for a for-profit corporation to charge interest on taxpayer money. I feel very strongly about that. But I think we should go forward, so I will support the resolution.
Mr. President, I have a correction to make.
Yes.
I've just learned from County Council the sensitivity of these negotiations by adding a member of the board or two members, it would become a Brown Act, a meeting. I'd like to withdraw the portion that reads, consisting of at least two members of the Board of Supervisors from the motion.
What does that mean?
I'll ask County Council to answer that question.
So I think what Supervisor Valle is saying that the body that would be created would be an ad hoc committee that would not include two members of the Board of Supervisors, but it would include the CAO, the auditor, and the consulting firm, as he outlined in his statement. But the idea is that it would be an ad hoc committee because it's a committee that's convened for a limited time for a limited, specific, narrow purpose. And then they can study it. And it would not be an open and public meeting, but it would allow the county to do the staff work that it needs to do nimbly and quickly, because it could meet without being subject to the formalities of noticing and public comment and, you know, a meeting that goes all day like the one we've had today. The formalities of noticing and public comment.
It's already on. There's no committee that can be created that has one or two board members on it that can't meet privately and get work done. If even one board member or two is on it, then it always 100% must be a Brown Act committee, noticed, all meetings open to the public. If there's a committee created by our board, then yes.
Correct.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I guess we don't have a choice then.
I'll ask if the second would approve of my change.
Based on that, just to reiterate again, there's no way to create a committee, or can create a committee with a member of the board or two that does not require Brown Act. That, okay, then I will comply with that, but I'm not sure I'm not sure I understand that. Okay.
So are you striking that whole last part, or are you just saying that the CAO, auditor, controller, and third party conduct analysis? And
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes, and I will amend my second to comply.
Supervisor Miley.
Yeah, thanks, President Carson. Yeah, I got kicked off, couldn't get back in to speak. Let's see here. And so I didn't hear all of the motion. Could I hear the motion again, please?
Absolutely. Let me read it back with the revision. The board declares a non-binding intent to contribute a portion of its share of the incremental property tax that will be generated from development of the waterfront ballpark district at Howard Terminal into an enhanced infrastructure financing district to be governed by a public financing authority with members appointed equally by the city and county to be formed over the project site for the purpose of financing eligible on-site affordable housing, public parks, and other infrastructure of community-wide significance, and that a county committee consisting of the CAO office, auditor controller, and a third-party CPA firm to conduct the analysis of the proposed project funded by the Oakland A's, and to be brought back to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, thanks for reading the motion so I could hear it in its totality. So I need to ask, so you have the word intent. So legally, I just need to ask County Council, does that word bind us? Because he has intent, not a willingness, he has intent.
So you've used the word non-binding intent. So that again, that the critical word there is non-binding. And so it is not as, it is a little more intentional than the word willingness to consider, or the phrase willingness to consider, because you've gone a little bit step further, but it is still non-binding.
Okay. And I just want to thank all the speakers, both the folks who spoke earlier today and then who spoke after the redistricting meeting. And clearly, as some of the speakers have pointed out, people are divided on this issue. I think there's questions on both sides of this, but I think our willingness to at least go further and based on the motion gives the county an opportunity to do more due diligence around this and doesn't hold up any possible progress that could be made that would serve the public interest. So with that being said, I'm supportive of this at this point in time. I would just need to get a sense of, with the motion, if it's approved, do we have any sense when we will hear back on this matter, how long it will take. And then it is the intent of the motion that the A's will pay for the staff costs associated with this. Can anybody respond?
I don't know that we discussed the timing of it, or how long it would take. I guess that would be, it feels like that would need to be meant to be seen. However, I also do agree that, to your point, we set direction, and we as a board need to be very clear about our expectations. We as a board should be asking, I believe, the questions of how long it would take, asking for periodic reports. I, for one, am probably not going to allow myself to go for 4 months without asking for very periodic updates. But that's something that I think needs to be handled by maybe the group that is hired and our staff that we entrust to do the hard work. Maybe we can get a report back quickly as to what that timeline would look like. But I don't know how we could answer that question without first convening or allowing staff to convene that first meeting.
I do think
it's just my 2 thoughts.
I think it would be helpful if, like I said, if the motion's approved, that we get a sense of the timeline and I'm assuming, based on what we heard Dave Caldwell say earlier, they'll pay for this, but we need to get confirmation of that and confirmation of the funds associated with it. Because if for some reason the A's aren't going to pay for it, or they're not going to pay for the total cost, then we might need to look at augmenting that for further due diligence. I do think we might want to have an update status report at some point. And then I think the final thing I would say is I think Supervisor Chan mentioned a number of items that I would co-sign, because quite frankly, even with a non-binding intent, if we do get to a place where we're ready to support and move into enhanced infrastructure financing district commitment, that might be conditioned upon certain things having been either fulfilled or being addressed to our satisfaction.
Okay, any other final comment, Supervisor Miley?
No, but I want to just thank you, President Carson, for the manner in which you conducted this meeting today.
Thank you. I want to make a couple of comments as well. I want to again go on the record. I started off by saying that I fully support keeping the A's in Alameda County. And as I stated earlier, I fully supported keeping the Warriors here and the Raiders here, but not at just any cost. I want to also go on the record that I also support the estimated 25,000 union jobs that the project is supposed to create when the construction of this massive construction undertaking. So I want to go on record about that. I also fully support the estimated 7,000 union jobs that is highlighted in this proposal. I support that. The thing is, nobody has raised the fact, other than Dave Cavall and the A's, that they are very frustrated at this point in time because it's been 5 years, not 5 months. We've had less than 5 months. It's been 5 years of them sitting at a table attempting to negotiate with the city of Oakland. Everybody's let them off the hook on that. 5 years, but we're getting our butt kicked on 5 months. And this is not even an area where we have, as a county, oversight and a responsibility. That doesn't say that it's not intrinsically a very important project. that's needed to revitalize the area. But initially, this board, based on the discussions that we were hearing about 5 years ago, wanted to make it easier for the A's to consummate a deal. So again, I mean, while we're getting our butt kicked for tonight's action, we over 3 to 4 years ago understood that they were trying to get to a yes. And this board took a lot of energy and time to say that we would sell our half interest of the Coliseum in order to make it a smoother trail for the A's to consummate a deal. Because we knew that historically, having two public entities with two publicly elected bodies having different points of view has been complicated for the sports groups that we've had here. And so with that, nobody's saying that was a good thing to do. We're being even criticized for that. We sold our interest in order to just pay off our bonds so that the A's would stay here and that there would be a deal. At that point in time, our understanding is that the focus was East Oakland, the Coliseum site, and the information that we were gathering at that time, even though it wasn't our deal, was that was the site. The fact that they've come up with a different site is a different issue. And no one has seemed to be questioning the fact that it's been the spokesperson for the A's that even today underscored the fact that there are still a lot of outstanding issues and deals for them to consider in this private business deal. And that there are still a lot of unanswered questions on a number of things. At this point in time, we'll be taking an action, and I felt we were about to take that action back in May when we were asked publicly, not privately, not in a letter, trying to be collegial. No one reached out to us and said, hey, can we talk to you about this? This is what we're thinking. It was done in public. And we were forced to respond to it in public, in which we were supposed to take up back then this whole issue before the city of Oakland, which has a responsibility, took an action. And we had 3 members that were ready to take an action that night without the city of Oakland taking their action around this deal. And here we find ourselves again today, taking an action without having basic information.
Hey, Prince, you gotta turn your camera
Basic
on.
information that 5 years the city of Oakland has been dealing with. In less than 5 months, we've been not even given the majority of information that's needed around this. But today, even the spokesperson for the for the A's have said there's a lot of unanswered questions that they still have. But we're willing to get out there and put our monies out in front. We have not heard where they are in the entitlement approvals. We have not heard where they are in the environmental impact report. We have not heard where they are on the design standards and general plan amendments. We have not heard where they are on the development agreements. Again, this being a private business deal with a large corporation, they even stated on the record several times that we were never a part of this deal. They never had considered the county pitching in its money in order to deal with this. That meant to me that they had had their financial advisors, independent of the city of Oakland, being able to cost out not only the projected project, $6 billion project, but they also had some sense of where the revenues would come from in order to do that. And for all of this to be totally focused on the county's $355 million out of a $6 billion development deal, $6 billion and $355 million of county money being the linchpin to this program, says to me that the city of Oakland didn't give any consideration for other options. They put all of their eggs in one basket. I know our county administrator and our department heads always have options for how we finance things. I mean, that's only reasonable that this is the only way to finance that, through having us participate in the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, and that we give up $355 million of potential revenue going forward, is the only way to do that. You know, I have a hard time that there are not any serious consideration. Even today, we question what the revenue streams were and are going to be there, but yet and still we said, we will take a non-binding vote to say, take our revenues going forward. What are our revenues used for? People are saying this is very easy, and it may be easy to say do it, but what are our revenues being used for? Our revenues are being used to try to keep our hospitals open. And it's a matter of fact, it's a matter of public record that there are some that are on the brink of closing that provide life and death situations to individuals. That's what our constitutional statutory responsibility is. And that's what these monies go for. Our monies are to make sure that we feed people. And I would like to put up right now a picture that I just took over the weekend. And if you can recall, the weekend, it was raining cats and dogs. And this photo is showing a group of people who've been standing in a line, senior citizens, trying to wait to get food 2 days ago here in Oakland, California. And that is only a part of that line. Our responsibility has been around feeding individuals. We put over $100 million over the last year in terms of making sure that people got fed. That's now, that's not 5 years, that's not 10 years, that's now that people get fed. We put our money into making sure that we kept people housed, because that's our responsibility. But we're going to gamble away. Matter of fact, one of the things that's been really kind of gnawing at me lately is the dedication of our staff since COVID has been around. And every single day, people have been trying to figure out how to make it happen, how to serve the people in terms of their needs. And the fact that we oversee public hospitals, the analogy I want to use is that we've been in the surgery room almost every single day trying to keep patients alive. And now we're being asked to go to Las Vegas and play the one-arm bandit. We're being asked to go to Las Vegas and play the one-arm bandit when our responsibility is to stay in the surgery and to try to keep and save as many people as possible. So this is very hard for me to say that I can support something in which originally people said they didn't need our financial support. There's been no effort to say there are alternatives in case we don't get it. It's if we don't get your money, it ain't gonna happen. And you're the ones who have the albatross around your neck. You caused the A's to leave. You caused us to not be able to have the 25,000 jobs. You caused this county to not be able to have 7,000 jobs. That bothers me. Because a prudent elected official would have options for that. And I gotta believe there are other ways in which they can come to the financing on this deal. So I know this is non-binding in terms of what you're saying, but we know, let's just be honest with each other. Once we take a political non-binding position, it's almost impossible for us to take that back. And I think that I have to be honest with myself to say that my position is going to be up front. And that is not to support this because of the fact that I know that even if it goes through, and I know that there's a lot of hurdles to go over, that even if this goes through, we're really risking and taking dollars away from people who we have the responsibility to oversee. That's now. That's not in 45 years. Those people may not have 45 years. So I'm not going to be supporting the measure, the motion. You can call the roll.
Supervisor Halbert,
Aye.
Supervisor Valle,
Aye.
Supervisor Chan, Supervisor Miley,
Aye.
President Carson.
No.
Wow.
I'm sorry. May I make one comment?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I haven't misled anyone. Supervisor Halbert questioned me multiple times about was there any way to have body. I just want to be clear that as long as you have other people besides the two supervisors on the body, it would be a Brown Act body. So to the extent you wanted staff, part of the body. If it was just a body, you can have an ad hoc body that's just the two supervisors and no one else.
Okay, with that, we have concluded the 12 o'clock set matters. And we will now move into the regular board meeting for today. And next item that we have on the board agenda for today is the consent calendar.
Move consent, Mr. President.
All right, folks, we're gonna,
Second.
Hold on a second.
Consent calendar has been moved by Supervisor Valle, seconded by Supervisor Halbert. Any questions regarding anything on consent?
No, we're gonna get out of that one.
No?
Okay, folks, so we're out of that one. And hey, Prince, turn on your mic. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thanks. So, what do you think of this blankety blank? Doesn't matter whether you're for it or against it. That's not right here.
I guess how I feel, I'm from Sacramento. I'm in Oakland now, and I've been in Oakland since 2014. And I saw what the stadium did to downtown Sacramento, and I really thought that it brought a lot of additional investment. And I live in Jack London now. I used to live by the lake. So I think what I'm hearing is that the city of Oakland, and I've heard this for so many years, it just seems like our city council, and I've been listening to your show off and on, they just have really
Thank you very much. Thank you.
They have really just mismanaged this whole situation. Because I just think about, like, I work in tech. I used to work for Electronic Arts. I mean, it was to get the Sacramento Stadium, the King Stadium, I mean, they went out to the investors and VC funds, and they asked the community for so much money and, businesses to get involved. And it just seems like, I guess the input for me is that it would be a shame if the A's to leave. And I don't want it to be shut down at this point. I don't want us to have a bad deal. And I know there could be a lot of finger pointing, but I wish the news and I wish the media would just really cover this. It seems like they just don't really cover it in a really holistic way. That's probably because Oakland doesn't seem to have their own news station. It seems like all the news stations are in San Francisco, San Jose. That's been my observation. It just seems like all the news stations just pit everything against Oakland. And they don't want us to succeed. But on top of that, our city, Carol Fife, I really believe in her. I like District 2. I don't like the guy who's out in Coliseum. He just seems to be, he just wants to keep it in the Coliseum. It can't stand the Coliseum. I don't ever want to go out there. It's ugly. It's old. It seems unsafe. So it just seems like it almost feels like our infrastructure deal. It's just like going on in the Congress right now. It just seems like we need to get everybody in a room and just really, I don't understand why it's so complicated. I really don't. Like, I don't understand why it's so complicated to get a good deal where the taxpayers should pay a little bit. The last guy's whole speech, I'm like, I don't think he's thinking about how much revenue outside of just the stadium bringing all the housing and businesses. I don't think he's thinking about, like, what the attraction will be, especially if it's a lot of like home ownership. I don't know how all the taxes work and everything. I just feel like there could be a lot of upside to giving Oakland something to be proud of. I mean, that stadium just looks so beautiful. In addition to the lake, we need more tax revenue. We need more businesses. We need more houses. We need more places, not just apartments to rent, but places to build. So that's what I'm attracted to. Also, not just the stadium itself, but the actual all around it. So, that's where I'm at.
Hey, so in
But I really do
Sacramento,
appreciate you keeping. Yep.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
I was going to say I really do appreciate you keeping them honest. I wish your channel got more publicity. I wish that the conversations that you're having were highlighted more. I feel like there isn't a way to really hold our elected officials accountable in a forum, really question them, and to really figure out why did they not engage Alameda County early on? Like, why? Who is at fault here? Who needs to be fired? Who needs to be promoted? Who do we need to get in the seat to get us the right deal at the 11th hour?
I think to answer your,
but thank you
sure,
for everything you're doing.
Oh yeah, hey, appreciate the compliment. Thank you. And let me answer your question before I get to the other matter regarding Zenny 62 Media. I think it's something that should be addressed because it points. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do that in a short form. I'm going to do this in a more detailed form. This is the prominent question. Your question about that's prominent, and the problem basically is that in government all around we have an implementation problem. This is not just in California. This is everywhere. Even look at how the federal government is handling the pandemic. There has been in a sort of underlying kind of tide of change over the years of social media, the development of left and right and this hyper political thinking has actually diminished the ability of governments to just simply do their job without a political agenda. And so what we have is a kind of a diminishing of the kind of public management society that arose and gave rise to institutions like the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard or the Goldman School at Berkeley, where you got a MPP in public management. And as far back as the 60s, when we had the rise of the corporate man, if you will, there was the underlying practice of adopting microeconomics to government. You would say, why do that? Well, it's called resource allocation. In other words, if I have X amount of dollars, how do I use that? How much and how many Y garbage collection machines can I put out to achieve the Z of cleanup of garbage in a specified area, right? That's actually a formula. And that has given way to, particularly in the social media world, where you have now our elected officials, and as much as you like Carol Fife, I don't know Carol, I haven't met Carol, but I don't like this focus on politics as opposed to something I contend she doesn't understand, which is how Oakland government works. And you need to understand that in order to tell your constituents, for example, that AB 464 should be implemented. It's not. And this is something Carol should be doing to get money to businesses in District 3 and in Oakland that need extra money to recover from the pandemic. So Oakland is sitting on what could potentially be billions, in other words, and not using it. But this is in the climate where you have people, mostly look like us in Oakland, who are saying, wait a minute, how come tax increment financing is used for this basically white development, Howard Terminal, right? But when it comes to, and this is what I was getting after Lauren about, you're talking about Lauren, who wants to run for mayor after just one term and having never worked for the city. And yet I'm saying to him, and we had we had a private argument where I just said, I'm done, man, because you want to support the folks, right? And I have 3 decades of experience with the city of Oakland. I learned how to do tax increment financing work for the city in '86. You know, I don't know how old anybody else is here is, right? But in 1986, that was my first job out of Berkeley. And for the redevelopment agency, I built a gigantic computer model, which basically formed the tax increment financing calculations of the Coliseum redevelopment survey area, which became the Coliseum redevelopment area. So I have it just so happens, by the way that God has graced things, I have a lot of experience in this area. So you would think that the city would say, hey, we know Zinni, a lot of people who've done this have retired or died. Zinni's still around, you know, let's get Zinni to help us, right? But the mayor, who's supposedly my god sister, doesn't do that. So yeah, and people say, well, you shouldn't be saying hire me. Why not? I built my own media company. Steve Kerr was an announcer. Then he became the Warriors coach, like so many other coaches do, right? The revolving door between media and basketball. Well, how come I can't do it with economic development if I know the answer better than anybody else? And I'm daring somebody to prove that I don't, okay? The bottom line is, who wins in the end? Oakland wins in the end, because we get something that we used to do right. And before, you know, you came to Oakland, we had a tradition of fiscal innovation and fiscal responsibility and fiscal effectiveness that we have lost, okay? And no one seems to care. No one's, and it makes me cry sometimes because I love my city. It was my dream to work for Oakland when I was in grad school at Berkeley. Getting that internship was the job I wanted. You know, it was just an internship. But Oakland has this way, when you care about it really deeply, you work for it. And if you're especially Black and you know something, they have a way of pushing you out. And I'm not saying something that other people haven't said before, but it's fact. And Oakland does not embrace, particularly its own who look like me, who are male, who are getting the job done. I've had the conversation with Libby a bunch of times over the years, and these are people that are not fly-by-night. These are people I've helped. I was the first person to tell Libby to run for mayor, and my mom was there May 14th of 2019, her parents' folks' house, okay? Precinct walk for her, all this is on video, all that, okay? So my point is, and then when she needed help with the Raiders, she called me and asked questions, and you know, we had a little simpatico going in terms of me giving her advice. But in 2015, when Mark Davis said come up with a stadium plan, and I did, I cold called an investment banking firm, Diane Paulway, Piper Jaffray. They gave me a 6-person deal team. I gave the whole spreadsheet that I made that they blessed, the whole kit and caboodle to the mayor. She made no call whatsoever. None, okay? So it stands. So the number question is, when you have people who know what to do, all right? And who not only know what to do, but they've laid the table out for you. They've got the best investment bankers in the world. They know the arguments, and you don't call on them, and yet you make mistake after mistake like this project, something wrong, okay? And then you produce consultants, and there's no Black folks, which we used to never do. And you can't do that, and I'm here in suburban Atlanta, you can't do that in Atlanta, but it shouldn't be, you know, structured like Atlanta before you have to bring in someone Black, because, you know, we used to not be that way. But now, every time you turn around, you watch economic development organizations that would apply themselves to this in California. They're white, or if they're not white, they're, you know, maybe they're mostly white on staff. Nobody Black. You're hard pressed to find anybody Black, especially among the seniors. And this is up and down the state. And then someone will say, well, we can't do it because of 209. Proposition 209 does not rubber stamp all white staff. It is very clear about how the staff should look. It should not be racially biased any way or the other, but they just turn a blind eye to it, all right? So there are Black consultants that can be involved in this. Some live in Hayward, like Ajit Scott, myself, and everybody else. So it is absolutely ridiculous to have what we see today from that perspective. Now let's take away race for a moment and look at just pure competence, all right? Century Urban produced a document where the redevelopment numbers were totally wrong. They didn't produce the exact assessed value numbers. They didn't produce a true 45-year bond picture, and the county didn't call them on it. Why? Because the county didn't know what it was looking at, okay? So what happens is like the blind leading the blind, okay? This has been going on for some time. It has been, I remember my buddy Phil Nutsgami and I were talking about it, because I've known Phil. I knew Phil when Phil was, as he put it, equity rich and cash poor. And I helped Phil get his $32 million contract for the rotunda. I'm proud I did it. And for those who might be wondering, no, there was never a quid pro quo because I didn't work that way for the mayor, and I'm proud of it. I worked hard for the city. I remember I was in my office in City Hall, and we got a letter from United Colors of Bennington. They told us why they wouldn't build in downtown Oakland. They said we weren't demographically right. You know what that means, okay? Phil was, this is the mission we were on. We were on a mission to build Oakland for everybody, all right? That was the idea, and it still should be the idea. But now the mission that gave us the know-how to get people, and I'm not saying we did it perfectly, but we had that intent. We had the organizations. We had at one point 120 job training partnership organizations or nonprofits in Oakland. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, you can learn something, go to them, get the help you need, get placed someplace else, or maybe the nonprofit had enough money to hire you. We don't even have that anymore. What fueled that? Redevelopment did. But they turned around, they let Jerry kill redevelopment, okay? They just sat back, and everyone knew it was going to happen if you had half a sense of it. The reason why we have a problem paying our people today, and we've had strikes, is because the dirty little secret that nobody wants to tell you that remembers, a lot of people have left, is that we used redevelopment money to pay our staffers in part, all right? It kept us going. We were able to use that tax increment financing money, that gigantic money that was building up, to do that. Now, some people might think that's a misuse of redevelopment funds, but I argue that it kept the city whole. It allowed us to provide services, and it made Oakland, it gave Oakland the bedrock of what it has become, okay, prior to gentrification. But now where we are is we have now the institutional investor money, aka white money, if you will, has built Oakland, or starting to build a private part of Oakland that really looks cool, all right? The trouble is that from a market standpoint, if you will, it's for those who tend to have the most money, who tend to be white or Asian in the Bay Area context, and not Black. And there's no program that effectively ensures a lower income of people can live here and be the artists and the dynamos that create this culture that Oakland has been known for so many years, and that nobody thinks that's a tragedy. It's like, you know, we used to have in the 90s, this was some of the fall, some people look like me, okay, who would say, you know, they would, and I even wrote this in the Clarion. I said, Oakland's problem is that we need more white money. We need a downtown, because downtown you had 6,680 people in the population. No one wanted to be downtown, okay? You wanted to go and do something fun. You went over the Bay, you went to San Francisco, you went to the Marina District. There was a guy in 1998 whose parties I used to go to when I worked for Elihu. Name was Gavin Newsom. Had these kick butt parties, but everybody went to his party because, you know, Gavin was basically attracting every woman as a bachelor you probably want to date on Thursday night. And so you were there, okay? That's true. That's how I met Gavin. Gavin was married to Kim Guilfoyle, who's now a conservative, hanging out with the Trumps for whatever reason other than money, you know, I can think of. And that was it. But that's what you did because there was nothing going on in Oakland. KTVU Channel 2, Diane Dwyer, when she was on television, I got after about this when I was a columnist for the Montclair, and I said, Diane Dwyer's doing these negative stories about Oakland, but hey, when she's off, she goes to the Marina District and parties. She got hecka mad, but it was true. Okay, it was true. So now we are at a point where people from San Francisco are coming from Sacramento, they're coming to Oakland, but they're concerned because the amount of money it takes to live in Oakland is about on a par of what it takes to live in San Francisco, which is unheard of. And there's no, you know, use of redevelopment or public financing to do anything about that. And so here come the A's, who need a new stadium, but what they did, what they are part of, is is a mistake that the city has made going on before the Mayor Schaaf, and it really started with Jerry, when Jerry fired Robert Bob because Robert wanted to build a stadium for the A's, which should have been downtown. And I was on the conference call when that happened. That was that was 2002, May 2002, I believe the 10th at 12:32 in the afternoon when Jerry Brown said there's not going to be a downtown stadium in Oakland as long as I'm blanking mayor. He said that, okay? He said that. So Jerry set the tone for where we are right now, and that's truth. And then he fired Robert Bobb. So what did Robert do? He got hired as chief administrative officer for Washington, D.C., brought the Montreal Expos from Montreal to become the Washington Nationals, built that gorgeous new stadium, and kept on sailing. Sayonara Oakland. He's not sayonara because he's still in, has friends and is involved, but Jerry treated him like crap. Unnecessarily. And then what happened was Ron Dellums came in, but I think the job was too big. I think the job of mayor was bigger than the late, great Congressman Ron Dellums thought it was going to be. And so he lasted for one term. And we got Jean Quan. And Jean was openly supportive, and she grabbed Coliseum City concept and made it her own and really tried to make it happen. She did it the wrong way because they thought, well, hey, you know what? We need to have the Prince of Dubai or somebody with a lot of money involved to build the stadium. Folks, you don't need a lot of money people involved to build a stadium. You need the city's involvement. You need the land entitlements, okay? And then you need a spreadsheet with identified revenue sources and uses such that it pencils out where you can pay off a private bond issue and public involvement where they have an assurance that they're going to get back the public money they spend in terms of economic development. And that calls for design. The trouble in Oakland's problems is we've never had a stadium that had a shopping component or any other kind of component where people could spend right as they are enjoying a sports event by saying, living in a hotel right on the grounds or eating something before a game starts outside the stadium on the grounds. We've never had that. And so you have these stupid idiots that come along and say, well, sport doesn't make any money. It's not that. It does when it's designed right. The example is Oracle Park because it has the places to live and the restaurants, and you know how it's designed down there on King Street, which used to be covered over by the Embarcadero before it was destroyed in the earthquake, the earthquake that I was in, unfortunately, in 1989. And so Gene, however, Mayor Kwan, I'll never forget, I was at it's called the Alice B. Toklas Democratic Club Breakfast. And folks, those of you who are watching this who are not familiar with the Bay Area, I will say this. Nobody cares what your orientation is in the Bay Area in business. You need to get to know everybody. So if you're in business in the Bay Area, you get your blankety blank to the Alice B. Toklas Democratic Club Breakfast, and you shake hands, you get to know everybody. So I'm there with my lady I thought I was going to marry at one point. Oh, shit, I got to send her an email at the breakfast. And there's Rob Rao, the president of the Warriors, at this table. And Gene Kwan was at the other one. So I said hi to Rob. That was the first time I met him. Great guy. I told him the Warriors are not leaving Oakland over my dead body. So you see what happened there, right? So anyway, I go over to Gene and I said, Gene, Rob Rowell is right over there. You should talk with him. Do you know what she said to me? She said, I'm surprised. I didn't know the Warriors were this important to so many people. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so my point is, it's like, what? And what happened was that because of ranked choice voting and strong mayor, it became clear that Jean was not going to win in her second term. Libby beat her, okay? And so what happened was that instead of Fred Blackwell, who was really our key and one of our major representatives of the institutional memory we had for economic development, instead of him sticking around, you know what he did? He bolted. Where'd he go? To become CEO of the San Francisco Foundation. Okay, he made the right move for himself because, as many people have told me, even people in the city of Oakland says, Zinni, take those brains and work on them for yourself because nobody cares. And that's the strongest indictment against Oakland I can make. All right? Oakland does that to people. and Oakland's culture and its government needs to change. We used to do what we did before, bringing together a big task force of people. I started the Oakland Downtown Coalition. We had up to 45 people. Why? Because the project to rebuild the 14th and Broadway bus project, this was in 1997, had stalled. The building and orders and management people weren't talking to each other. They weren't talking to the chamber. The chamber wasn't talking in turn to the city. I mean, it was all enough to stall everything. I made the Oakland Downtown Coalition. We met the third Thursday of each month. I got Max's to cater it. Max's was the restaurant that was in City Center that's since gone, sadly. And we had copious amounts of wine. And and the idea was to bring together the people involved in each and every part of what it took to get this thing done. And after 4 months of meeting, we did it. Yet we also got, notice. I got a call from somebody I'd never heard of before. Her name was Buna China. Probably known to you some out there now, okay? Certainly known to me. Had a boss, building Oakland anyway. She got after me for not inviting her to the meeting. I didn't know she was. She was yelling at me. And this was at the time when, we were full force, starting to get a write-up in one of these rags or whatever. And next thing I know, we're having our meeting. Oakland police comes and says, Zinni Abraham here. And I said, yeah, I'm here and I'm leading the meeting. And I just went out. I said, so what's going on? Says, there's people outside who want to talk to you. Okay, I'm conducting a meeting, but I'll come along. They're the police. So I go out, there's a whole crowd of people chanting, hey, ho, ho, Zinni Abraham has got to go. Now, I walk out, they have no idea I'm Zinni Abraham. I think they expected somebody white, and they're mostly black, okay? So, you know what I did? I got down there realizing they didn't know who I was, and I cheered with them. You hear what I'm saying? I cheered this with them, okay? And so after about 5 minutes of this garbage about, hey, ho, ho, Zinni Abraham has got to go, and I told this before the store, I love telling it, okay? I jumped up and I said, hey, I'm Zinni Abraham. Oh, okay. And we got them, Alex Greenwood, myself, who was the project manager, into City Hall. Alex talked with them. I talked to my group. We got the problem solved. But, it's not smooth and easy, but that's what you do. You have to bring the people together that matter in a room to get it done. 45 strong. The city hasn't done that. The city has not done that, okay? And so you have, and look what it's got us. And look, you've got the A's, which should be doing a food drive with Keith Carson. Instead, not doing it. Keith's showing this photograph of, people lining up for food. I'm thinking, where are the A's? Any developer knows that you got to give something to get something in politics. You want something passed, okay? You can't just say, I'm going to take my ball and, go someplace else. But that's what the A's in Major League Baseball are doing. They could try helping to feed the hungry with city leaders. And the city leaders could ask them, duh. Okay, this is economic development playbook 101 stuff that's not getting done. I'm thinking, are we stuck on stupid all of a sudden? So there you go.
What do you think about what do you think about the Raiders coach and his racist and all his bad comments that have come out? I don't know if that was the coach or the owner who was the owner when they were in Oakland, but I always sit here and wonder. I mean, there's so much fault to go around here, but it's like, why would you pick Vegas of all the such a? I mean, I guess I can understand why Vegas, but now you have didn't the Raiders go to Vegas?
I think there's two things at play here. First, Matthew Green, something did happen. The vote.
So I guess
let me deal with this question real quick. Yeah, Matthew Green, the vote was 2 ayes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. So there you go. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prince. You were saying.
Oh no, go ahead. I guess I was just saying. I was just wondering. That's one of the things that made me wonder about these owners who are behind the A's and just these other companies. I hope we really have a true understanding of the nature of these people and that they are in good faith negotiating and believe in the essence of Oakland. I have no reason not to believe that. I'm just wanting to ask that because of the situation with the Raiders, and then the A's choice to go to a somewhat conservative city like Vegas or
Right.
even internet.
That's fair. At first,
I guess it's
I
all.
personally known John Gruden. So we're emailing a lot, but I met him first at the Raiders sponsor party at the Raider headquarters in 1998 through my buddy, to this day, Charlie Santana Jr. I'll cut to the chase. I have never seen the side of John Gruden that it was expressed in email. Okay. On the other hand, I don't know him that well. I have never had him personally treat me that way. And the John Gruden that I know of very recently had Will Kiss, this PR director, wait for me at the NFL owners meeting in the lobby because I had a play idea. And so basically, everybody the turnaround, he's really turn around his schedule and say, oh, Zenny's got an idea. I want to see that idea. Okay. And so that's the John Gruden that I know. When I was at the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party in 2004, he and Bruce Allen. I was talking with John and his wife Cindy about the upcoming draft and football and then food. Okay, we're really having a small talk thing. And then Bruce Allen walked by. I didn't know Bruce was there, and he points at me, says to John, don't you think he would make a great general manager? Talking about me. Okay, so that's what I know. Last email I exchanged with Bruce Allen was in 2015 about my idea for Raider Stadium, the one I was talking to you about earlier. And Bruce just says, we don't do anything about public money. Okay. All right. I don't know being treated inappropriately by people with the league. I wasn't at the owners meeting. I think they've got some communication issue they got to straighten out, but I'm here for my mom anyway. So, but my point is, I don't know that. It doesn't mean that what was written in those emails was anything less than ridiculous, stupid, boneheaded, and racist and sexist. All right. And I'll tell you this. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Similarly, friends don't let friends be racist. If something like that hits me, I'm on the phone. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay. So they didn't do that. And so the other side of it is, hey, wait a minute. What was said on the receiving end? Okay. As John said, he goes, there's more to it than that. But my point is that we have in society, and this is where people have to really.
And that's fair.
Okay. Yeah. But I was going to say, Prince, in this society, people who, I don't know if you ever seen Al Campanis in the video from back in 79 when he said that we as blacks, he was a baseball manager, we didn't have the basically intellectual capacity to be managers. We didn't have the stuff. We didn't have what it took. Okay. And he said that with a straight face. And Ted Kopp was like, what are you talking? I mean, it's a classic scene. But what you have to ask yourself is, what does it take for a person to be so comfortable saying that? Okay. And we still have elements of that in society where a city like Oakland can bring up a consulting group, nobody black, but even Keith Carson, my friends Keith Carson and Nate Miles, I got after him about this. I'm saying you're not even criticizing the city. What's going on? You're supposed to be standing up, and because you don't want to have this image out there that, we're the step and fetch it, don't know anything technical, can't do anything, okay? And at a time when Andrew Yang ran for president on the idea that we're going to have a net operating income of zero in terms of wealth, and no one black raised an eyebrow and said, hey man, heck with you for saying that. That's bad stuff. But what does it mean? He said that for a reason. He said that because everybody knows that we are at a service economy and a knowledge economy. And the signal is, hey, you're falling behind. I say to everybody, learn a programming language, so something we can build something online to create wealth, create a currency, do anything. Because in today's world, people can use image to make you look like you're worth less. And they especially do that with us. That's why we need our own media companies and everything else. And I'm not saying, when I say we, I'm not saying we to the exclusion of anybody white. And hey, I've dated, probably more white girls than you have. So it's okay. So my point is, it's not, I'm not telling people to be racist. I'm not preaching that. I'm saying to have, like my grammar school teacher, Riso in Skyline had, he would say, I'm Italian. And no one batted an eyelash. What's wrong with saying, yeah, I'm black? In other words, regardless of where you are, it doesn't matter if you're the only black person in the room or among all, you're proud of who you are, period. And too often, we're so beaten down that we don't get that message. We feel like we have to be around all of us, and we're afraid when there are none of us. I'm not. I think I'm the baddest blankety blank in the room. A lot of people don't like it. I don't care. Okay? So you have kids, you tell them that. Period. End of story. There you go. There you go. So it's like, so as far as where we are with the A's and everything else, I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna take another year to sort out. So don't be surprised if the A's leave. Some people have said to me, how come you're applauding they're going to Las Vegas? Because I'm tired of seeing it screw up. And they don't involve me. I mean, you think somebody's smart enough, we say, well, you know what? We need to shut him up. We're going to involve him. But no, okay? It's just like I told,
Well, thank you for sharing this. I really appreciate this comment.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry. Your voice broke up. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have to step out. I have to step out in a second, but I just want to say thank you for this conversation,
Yeah.
and I do hope I live in Oakland. I'm putting down roots here. I'm buying a house here, and I want it to be continue to improve and be a great city. And I want to keep it here. I want to keep the diversity. I want to keep the elements of what makes Oakland great, and I also want people to understand that we still need continue, as you say, white money to continue to bring it on up. So, and for the record, I'm married to a white Mexican Jew man. But it's okay there. But just teasing you there. So, I mean, I know the money, and I'm having a good time here in Oakland, and I just want Oakland to continue to be a great, safe, beautiful spot, because Oakland has really surprised me. I didn't expect. I was headed to San Francisco to move there, and someone said, "No, you should check out Oakland." And I said, "Oakland." I said, "Okay, well, my dad used to live in Oakland. My aunt used to live in Oakland. Let me see it. Is it safe?" Came here in 2014, and it has just been the best decision of my life.
Why did it surprise
So thank you for everything you're doing.
Why did it surprise you?
And
Just curious to know. Why did Oakland surprise you?
because the media.
Ah.
Oh, because the media. It's just the media. The media just portrays Oakland to be the if you turn on the news,
Well, here's the thing. You mean the white. You mean the white.
in Oakland, it is about shootings.
Right. Yeah. But also, you have to say you mean the white-owned media. Right. Because this is not just me saying this. Research did a study that said that straight out about 5 months ago, that media is made by white publishers for a white audience because that's where they feel the money is. All right. And that's what's going on. So I started my own media company to counter that. And so my point is, you said, I don't get noticed enough. Let me tell you what's going on. If I were with the Chronicle, which I was blogging, then Larry Beale would put me on his show, which he used to do, and then they stop. It's me, so they try to ignore me. And my point is, look, it's a digital media world. It's easier to overcome that than it was back then, because there are a number of videos on YouTube that get seen more than broadcasts by far. Okay. So my point is this. Spread the word about this, about Oakland News Now. If there's anything you want to see us do or can do better, hey man, I always say get on me. Let me know. Just say, you know what, you're screwing up, Zenny. You can do better. Okay, Prince, what I need to do. You know, that's the way it happens. You know, and you have something you want to put out there, send it or make a video. You know, send it and viral,
Well, I will do that.
you know,
I'll send
that is the absolute way. And I say also, welcome to Oakland.
We'll stay in contact. I'm really good. Thank you. And I'll contact with you after this dialogue because,
cool.
I said, I've been listening to you for a while. I found you on YouTube, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you again. Thank you for the comments. It means a lot to me, sir. Thank you. God bless you. God bless your husband. Thank you so much. Thank you. So that was Prince Barron. And hey, you know, I think I talked more than he did about it, but he ignited it. So I just have to explain something because, again, I love Oakland. But it also, and I hate to belabor this point, I'm from a time when we did things right. And now we're not doing things right. And we're showing, the city is showing for it in many, many different ways. So the bottom line is, the Alameda County Supervisors voted, someone said 4-1, but I thought that was 3-1-1 myself, but I'll reach out to the county itself, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that segment, break it out, make a separate video of its own, and then break out different parts of this. But this is not, but there's still a long way to go. And I think the bottom line takeaway for me is that the consultants' estimates are completely wrong. There is no infrastructure. I'm going to say this. There's no infrastructure. This is the next step, infrastructure. Okay. There's no infrastructure financing plan. This is a big problem. This should have been done 2 years ago. And the road that it takes to get to this final passage will take us even beyond the development agreement unless they decide to move the development agreement back, which they really should do, to do this first. Because originally they wanted to do the development agreement. If you take a look at the schedule that leads up to the development agreement, it never mentions the resolution of the tax increment financing issue. It never mentions the writing of the infrastructure financing plan. So as I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's bass-ackward. We got to get our act together to make sure this is right. This is going to extend into next year. I repeat, this is going to extend into next year. We are already at October, looking at November. The development agreement is not going to suddenly turn around and materialize itself by December. If it does, I am happy beyond measure to eat crow. But I don't see it the way this schedule has been written, and the fact that we're really behind schedule, because when it was written, we were supposed to have met with the county earlier, and then it got pushed back. All right. And as Dave Cavall has said, there's still issues with affordable housing that are still not resolved. Whereas I was under the impression myself, and as you were, that they were resolved, like, remember, 2 months ago. But now guess what? They're not resolved. Boy. Okay? That's what Dave said. All right? The mayor did not disagree with that. So, it's like they haven't moved. Literally. Okay? We've taken these little bitty steps. While we're taking these little bitty steps, guess what? Las Vegas does not have that complication, save for one. And the one complication has to do with financing. The government money is just not going to be there automatically, like it was for the Raiders. The impetus right now is to build more affordable housing there. In fact, around the country. Okay? So Um, so where we are is there's a lot of work to do, but I'm going to give you a parallel path to look at because that's how we've been looking at the A's. I have, at least. Some don't like it, but this is taking off the blinders. You have Oakland and Las Vegas. And where we are right now is that Las Vegas is still further in the pre-development stage. This is Las Vegas than Oakland. Oakland is about, I would say, 6 months off, 6 to 8 months off from a development agreement. I would love to be wrong and hope that they foreshorten that schedule, but right now that's what it looks like realistically because there's no infrastructure financing plan. And when you form the infrastructure financing plan and you get the people together, they have to agree upon these different ways of raising money to do, for example, the community spending. Here's another complication. You ready? Listen, okay? The city is using the standard enhanced infrastructure financing district, but they're overlaying a Melrose district. So they keep referring to it as a community facilities district. It's called Melrose, all right? And so basically the idea is that they say, well, the tax increment revenue is funneled into the community facilities district. Think about what that says. What that says, if you're awake, is that the community facilities district that's really ran by the developer, check it out, okay? That is, again, repeat, community Melrose consists of property owners who form the board. In the case of Howard Terminal, there is one property owner primarily, and that's the athletics. So they want to pour the infrastructure, they want to pour the tax increment revenue into the Melrose district. That's what they want to do. That's not SB 293 Skinner. No one has ever asked the city why they wanted to do that. That has never come up. And the reason why I keep saying you have to explain this is because the more you take esoteric turns like that, and a person begins to ask questions like, what's a Melrose district? Who runs it? And they find out, and they basically say, okay, you're giving, hey, public money to a Melrose district ran by basically one organization, the athletics. You talk about things that make you go, It's worse than that. But that's what you're looking at, folks. That is not an SB 293 Skinner. So for the county council to say, well, they're using SB 293 Skinner, but then not recognize that difference? Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You see, we need to iron that out so that it doesn't look so bad that we wind up getting sued just before, just when everything is kind of nice and buttoned up and we think we're ready to go and right. And then next thing you know, bam, big lawsuit. Stops everything. No. Get all this out in the open. Be honest with your numbers. Be honest with your problems. Iron them out. And make the ironing out public. The way the city has done this with the mayor, and then get this. You realize this is taking us into a mayoral election year, right? Oh, my Lord. Okay. You think things are bad now? You just wait until more and more people come online to run for mayor. This is going to be the biggest circus in the world. Do you think the A's want to deal with that? All right. The plus side for the A's is if we get this right, everybody looks great. The A's look great. The public, the county, the city, the waterfront. But the reason why I keep harping on what the consultants have done is because it's not getting it right. I've seen this show many, many times, folks. We got to get it. We got to get it right. All right. This is our last time to get it right. And Libby should not blow this. And if Libby doesn't know, for God's sakes, Libby, change. Okay. Because we came out of the Raiders matter. There was no debriefing about what we did that was wrong. And basically, Ms. Mayor, you went back and repeated a lot of the same mistakes. Love you, but this is tough love, okay? We need to get our act together. As far as Las Vegas and its future, I think Prince asked me a question I didn't get a chance, I didn't really answer. Not that I didn't want to. It's a very good question. He said that Las Vegas was conservative, but but you know what the operative word here is? Was. It's not anymore. It's not anymore, okay? It's not anymore, all right? Was, okay? Was, okay? Was conservative. Not anymore. Democrats won. Yeah, I'm a Democrat. Democrats won in Nevada. Las Vegas is going through an election soon for mayor. It's turning, or it's continuing to turn from red state to blue state, from red society to blue society. What does that mean? It means that for the purposes of a project like the A's, it's going to be a lot harder, I think impossible, to get the kind of money that the Raiders got. So you better have your cash flows figured out. You better have your development partners. The city will help you. The culture, my prediction here is that the culture of what made Las Vegas will not change. It will always be developer friendly. But it will have, my prediction too, is at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, a much better social component. Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot of crime in Vegas. There is. But some would argue there's a lot of crime in Oakland. There's a lot of crime in the United States because of the pandemic. All right. Okay, folks. It is 1:00 in the morning here. Let's pick this up tomorrow. Continue discussion. Love you all. Thank you all. Hey, you don't have to agree with me. I love to argue. All right. You can tell me, I think you're wrong, man. Cool. Let's talk about it. You know, that's what this is all about. Subscribe to Zitty62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. And that ends this broadcast. Thank you. God bless you.